She thought it was just a rusty old car. If you're watching this video, tell me where are you from or what time it is for you. But that car, that faded blue Chevrolet with the dented door and the stubborn engine, was the last living memory of my husband, David. I can still remember the day we bought it. It was 1971, and the air smelled of rain and possibility. David had just gotten his first promotion, and he said, "Ruth, if we're going to chase dreams, we might as well have 4 wheels under us." He had this grin, wide, confident, full of life. We found the car at a used lot for $600. The salesman tried to sell us a newer model, but David shook his head. "This one's got stories left in it," he said. And he was right. That car became our companion through everything. Our first road trip to the mountains, the rainy night arguments that ended in laughter, the night we brought our baby girl, Amy, home from the hospital. It wasn't just a car. It was our time machine. Years passed, and the blue turned to gray. The seats cracked, the radio died, and the engine coughed more than it purred. But I kept it, washed it, and parked it under the same old willow tree outside my house. After David died, I'd sit in that car for hours, not driving anywhere, just listening to silence, because somehow, silence inside that car wasn't empty. It was full of him. Sometimes when I turned the key just to hear the engine stutter, I could almost hear his voice teasing, "Easy on the clutch, Ruth. You drive like you're mad at gravity." And I'd laugh, alone, but not lonely. The world moved on, but the car didn't, and neither did I. Then one afternoon, my daughter Amy came by, her hair tied up, phone in hand, full of ideas about how to freshen up my life. She looked around the yard and sighed. "Mom, you have too much stuff. It's time to declutter." I smiled. "You can't declutter memories, sweetheart." She pointed toward the old Chevy. "Especially that. It's been sitting there for 20 years. It's a pile of rust. It's history," I said softly. "It's junk," she said, shaking her head. "You can't even drive it anymore." I didn't argue. There are some things you don't defend with words. Only with love. The next morning I woke up and looked out the window. The space under the willow tree was empty. The car was gone. For a second I thought maybe I was dreaming. Then I saw Amy's message on the kitchen counter. "Mom, don't be upset. I found a buyer. The man's restoring old classics. You'll love this. He even paid Walal 200. I'll bring you coffee later. Love you." I sank into the chair, holding that note like a piece of broken glass, $1,200, for the only piece of David that still hummed. When Amy walked in later that day, cheerful and proud, she said, "You won't believe how happy the buyer was. He said the car still has good bones." I whispered, "So did your father." Her smile faded. "Mom." I shook my head. "It's okay, dear. I know you meant well." But my voice cracked on the last word. That night I sat by the window for hours, staring at the empty driveway. And for the first time in years, I whispered into the dark, "David, what am I supposed to do now?" The wind rustled the willow branches outside. And maybe it was my imagination, but I could almost hear him say, "Wait, there's still one more drive left." I didn't understand what that meant then. But 2 days later, Amy called, her voice trembling. "Mom," she said, "you won't believe this. The man who bought the car found something under the seat." My heart skipped a beat. "What did he find?" "An envelope," she whispered, "with your name on it." And just like that, the road I thought had ended started again. 2 days after the car disappeared, the house felt heavier, like Silence had taken a seat at the kitchen table and refused to leave. If you are watching this video, tell me where are you from or what time it is for you. I kept glancing through the window, expecting to see that old blue Chevrolet parked in its usual spot, the way David used to leave it, slightly crooked, like it had a personality of its own. But the driveway was empty, and so was I. Then the phone rang. "Mom." Amy's voice trembled on the other end. I think I made a huge mistake. My heart skipped. What happened? The man who bought the car called me. He found something under the seat, an envelope, with your name on it. For a moment I couldn't breathe. My fingers went cold. "My name?" "Yes," she whispered. "He said it looked old. He thought you'd want it back." I closed my eyes and whispered, "Oh, David, you stubborn secret man." The next morning, Amy came by to take me to the buyer's shop. The ride there was quiet, only the hum of the tires and the weight of guilt between us. She finally said, "Mom, I'm sorry. I just wanted to help you move on." I looked at her and smiled faintly. "Sweetheart, sometimes what looks like moving on is really just walking away too soon." She nodded, tears welling. "I didn't know you'd kept something in the car. I didn't mean to keep it," I said softly. "I just never had the courage to open it." The place was a small repair shop on the edge of town. "Bennett Restorations," the sign said in faded red paint. Inside, the air smelled of oil, wood, and time. A tall man in his 60s came out wiping his hands on a rag. His beard was gray, his smile warm. "You must be Mrs. Green," he said. "Name's Frank Bennett." He reached into his pocket and carefully pulled out an envelope, yellowed and worn around the edges. "Found this under the passenger seat when I was cleaning the floorboards. Didn't feel right to open it." My breath hitched. My name, written in David's familiar handwriting, stared back at me like a heartbeat from the past. Amy whispered, "Dad's handwriting." I nodded, unable to speak. Frank looked at me gently. "Ma'am, I don't know what's inside, but I've been fixing cars for 40 years and I can tell when something carries more than bolts and paint. This one, it's got memories in its frame." We sat down on a wooden bench by the window. The sunlight fell on the envelope, turning it gold. My hands shook as I slid my finger under the seal. Inside was a letter, 2 pages folded neatly, still smelling faintly of motor oil and aftershave. Amy gripped my arm as I began to read aloud. "My love, if you are reading this, it means I didn't make it through the surgery. Don't cry. Too long, Ruth. I've had a good life, because I shared it with you. I'm leaving this note in the only place that ever carried all our dreams. The car. Keep it. Even when it rusts. Even when people tell you to sell it. Every dent has a memory. Every stain on the seat is from a story worth remembering. And, my dear, I left something else under the back seat. For when you're ready, drive safe and never stop singing along to the radio. Yours always, David." The words blurred through my tears. Amy whispered, "He left something else. Under the seat." Frank stood. "Let's have a look." We walked into the garage. There it was. My old blue Chevy, sitting beneath a layer of dust and dignity. Frank gently pulled the lever and lifted the back seat cushion. Dust puffed into the air, carrying years of silence with it. Beneath the seat was a small wooden box, wrapped in a faded handkerchief. One I recognized instantly. "That's his," I whispered. Frank handed it to me. "Looks like your husband wanted you to have one last ride together." I opened the box carefully. Inside were black and white photographs, our first road trip, our honeymoon by the lake, the day we brought Amy home from the hospital. And beneath the photos, a small cassette tape labeled, "For Ruth," Amy gasped. "A tape?" Frank smiled. "Lucky for you, I've got a working player right over there." He placed the cassette inside the dusty player, pressed play, and a soft static filled the room, followed by the sound of David's voice. "Ruth," he said, his tone gentle, familiar. "If you're hearing this, I want you to know. I loved every mile we drove together. You gave my life its map." I pressed my hand over my mouth as tears spilled freely. Amy sobbed beside me. "He recorded his voice." I nodded, trembling. "He wanted to stay on the road with me forever." The recording continued. "Don't let the world convince you to throw away what holds your heart. Some things aren't meant to be replaced. When life feels heavy, sit in this car, close your eyes, and let the memories drive for a while." The tape ended with a faint hum, our old wedding song playing softly through static. Frank wiped his eyes discreetly. "Ma'am," he said, "that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard come out of a car." I smiled weakly. "It's not the car, Mr. Bennett. It's the man who made it sing." That night, as Amy drove us home, neither of us spoke. The stars reflected on the windshield, and I realized something I hadn't in years. Sometimes it takes losing a piece of your past to find what it still wants to tell you, Amy whispered. "Mom, we have to get that car back." I smiled softly. "No, sweetheart. It found its way home already." For days after finding the letter, I couldn't stop thinking about David's voice. It kept playing in my head. Not just the recording, but the way he used to say my name like it was a song. If you are watching this video, tell me where are you from or what time is it for you? Amy came by the next weekend with a small cardboard box in her arms. "What's that?" I asked. She smiled shyly. "A surprise." Inside was a portable cassette player, brand new, sleek and silver, the modern kind that connected to her phone. "I digitized Dad's tape," she said. "Now you can listen to him anytime, anywhere." My chest tightened. "Oh, Amy." She sat beside me on the couch. "You haven't listened to the whole thing yet, have you?" I shook my head. "I couldn't. My heart's still catching up." She took my hand. "Then let's listen together." We sat quietly as she pressed play. The tape clicked, hissed, and then there he was again. "Ruth," David's voice said, steady but tender. "If you're hearing this, I hope the sun's out. You always said sunshine made you brave." Amy smiled through her tears. "That sounds just like him." He continued. "By now you've probably yelled at me for hiding something in the car. But you know me. I never could say goodbye properly." I laughed softly. "He never could," he went on. "I didn't want you to be alone in the quiet. That's why I left this tape. When you miss me, play this. And remember how you'd sing even when you didn't know the lyrics." Amy giggled. "That's true, Mom," I whispered. He used to cover his ears and laugh, then his tone softened. "I know our daughter will grow up and tell you to let go of old things. Don't be too hard on her. She'll learn one day that love doesn't age. It just changes parking spots." Amy covered her mouth, sobbing. Oh my God, he knew. I reached for her hand. He always did. He continued. "When she's old enough, tell her what the car really meant. Not the metal, not the miles, but the moments. The way it carried our laughter when we had nothing else. Tell her it's okay to hold on to love, even if the world tells her it's outdated." I couldn't stop crying. He was speaking to both of us. Yes, Amy whispered. It's like he recorded it for today. Then came a pause, and his voice returned, quieter, almost like a whisper through time. Ruth, promise me something. Don't let fear make your world smaller. Drive again, anywhere, even if it's just to the mailbox. Let the wind remind you you're still alive. The tape ended with a faint hum, and then a soft strum of guitar. It was the same melody he used to play on our porch during summers, when life was simple and love was loud. Amy leaned her head on my shoulder. He's still with us, isn't he? I smiled through tears, always, just quieter now. That evening, Amy made us tea and said, I called Frank, the man from the shop. He's fixing the car for free. What? I gasped. She grinned. He said, some stories deserve to be driven again. I chuckled. Bless that, man. 2 weeks later, the blue Chevrolet rolled back into my driveway. Polished, restored, alive again. The moment I saw it, I covered my mouth and whispered, Welcome home. Amy placed the keys in my hand. Ready for a drive? I laughed. I thought you'd never ask. We drove slowly through the quiet streets, windows down, radio humming softly. The same old cassette player sat on the seat between us, replaying. David's voice one last time. Keep going, Ruth, he said through the speaker. The road's still beautiful. I looked out the window, wind in my hair, heart steady again. Amy smiled at me. You're glowing, Mom. I laughed softly. That's not me, sweetheart. That's him, riding shotgun as always. That night I placed the letter and tape in a wooden frame beside the piano. I didn't hide them again. Some memories aren't meant to stay buried. They're meant to remind you that love isn't gone. It just echoes differently. And every time I walk past that frame, I whisper, Still driving, David. Still singing off-key. 3 more years passed since the day my old car came home, and somehow, time didn't feel like an enemy anymore. Just a gentle wind that moved the curtains when no one was looking. If you're watching this video, tell me where are you from, or what time it is for you. The car sat under the willow tree, now, shining quietly. Every few weeks, Amy and I took it for a drive. Short ones, down memory's lane, as she liked to call it. And every time she turned the ignition, I could almost hear David say, Easy on the clutch, Ruth. One autumn morning, Amy brought someone new. Her daughter, my sweet little Emma. Grandma! Emma squealed, running into my arms. Mom said this car can talk. I laughed. Oh, it doesn't talk, darling. It listens. She tilted her head. What does it listen to? Love, I said softly. The kind that never goes away. As the years went by, my steps slowed. My hands trembled, and the piano keys felt heavier than before. But every morning, I still looked out at that blue car and whispered, Not yet. Until one winter evening when Amy found me sitting quietly on the porch, staring at the fading sunset. She smiled gently. You thinking about Dad again? Always, I said. But this time, it feels more like remembering than missing. She nodded. Emma's turning 16 soon. Oh? I smiled knowingly. So she'll want a car, I imagine. Amy laughed. You know her too well. Looked out at the driveway. Then it's time to pass it on. She froze. Mom, are you sure? I nodded. That car taught me everything about holding on and letting go. Now it's her turn to learn. The next day, we brought Emma outside. The sun was bright, the air crisp, and the car seemed to gleam as if it knew. Emma, I said, handing her the keys. This car has been through more love stories than you can imagine. It's yours now, but only if you promise one thing." She grinned. "What's that?" "Never drive without music," I whispered. "And never drive without someone you love beside you, even if it's just their memory." She threw her arms around me. "I promise, Grandma." That night, Amy helped me climb into the passenger seat one last time. Emma sat behind the wheel, nervous but excited. "Ready?" she asked. "More than ever," I said. The engine roared to life, that familiar sound that had once been my lullaby. We drove slowly down the country road, golden fields on both sides. Emma turned on the radio, and as if the world was listening, our old wedding song began to play. I closed my eyes, smiling. Amy whispered, "You okay, Mom?" I nodded. "Just listening. He's still singing." A few weeks later, I grew weaker. My heart began to whisper what my mind already knew, that it was time to go home to the man who'd been waiting. Before I slept that night, I wrote one final letter. "My dearest Amy and Emma, when I'm gone, don't keep the car to mourn me. Drive it to celebrate me. Fill it with laughter, songs, and stories. Let every mile remind you that love doesn't stop when life does. When you turn on the radio and hear our song, know that I'm sitting beside you, proud, peaceful, and finally home. Love always, Mom." When I passed, Amy said the morning was unusually calm. No wind, no sound, just sunlight spilling across the willow leaves like quiet applause. They buried me next to David, and every Sunday since, Amy and Emma drive that same blue Chevrolet to visit. Emma told her mother recently, "When I drive, I feel like Grandma's talking to me." Amy smiled. "She is, sweetheart. Every time you turn the key." One evening, Emma drove alone for the first time. She parked by the lake, rolled down the windows, and played the cassette, the same one her grandfather had recorded decades ago. His voice came through the static. "Drive slow, love hard, and don't forget to sing," she smiled, tears glistening in her eyes, and whispered, "I hear you both, Grandma." And as the song played softly across the water, the headlights reflected in the lake like two stars, side by side, still traveling the same road, forever.